We're on the record, the beginning of Disc 1, Volume 2 of the Deposition of John Dickert. Today's date is July 30th, 2015, the time 1:38 p.m. Our court reporter today is Vicki St. George, who will swear the witness.
Please raise your right hand, and the testimony you're about to give, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor Dickert.
Good afternoon.
Again, I'm Brian Eldridge. We were last together on the 10th of July. Does that sound about right? 20 days ago?
I believe so.
Okay, you remember we went through a series of ground rules before your deposition began?
Yes.
Do you need me to refresh your recollection on those ground
I
rules?
don't believe so. I think one of them was, instead of yes or no. Or
Yeah works too.
Well,
No,
That's
the
right.
most important one I'll just remind you of, which is if you don't understand a question that I ask you, please ask me to repeat or rephrase the question, or at least for the next 2 hours, we could have the court reporter read it back to you. Fair enough?
fair enough.
All right. If you answer a question that I ask you, I'm going to assume that you understood the question and that you gave a meaningful, sincere response. Fair?
Correct.
All right. Have you done any preparation for this particular session of your deposition? In other words, have you looked at anything or done any prep between your first sitting 20 days ago and now?
Only that Michael and I spoke before we got here about some of the things.
Yeah, don't tell me what you guys spoke about. That's privileged information, and so
Okay.
keep that amongst yourself.
Okay.
Aside from conversations that you had with counsel, did you do any prep work?
No.
Okay. Have you reviewed any sort of documentation?
No. I did see one email. I think that was about it.
Okay. What email did you see?
I saw an email from, what was it, with in regards to Zach Williams and Tommy Tusa saying something fairly bad about me.
Okay. What did it say?
Something to the fact that Zach wanted to see me sodomized in prison. That was his Christmas wish.
And who provided you with this email?
I believe it was sent from one of our attorneys.
Okay. And when was it that you looked at that email?
I don't recall the date. It was probably within the last week or two.
Okay. Aside from that email, have you reviewed any other documentation?
Not that I recall.
Did you review a transcript of day one of your deposition?
I did not.
Did you review the video from day one of your deposition?
I did not.
Did you review Alderman Kaplan's recent deposition testimony?
I have not.
Did you talk to Alderman Kaplan about his deposition?
Only that he told me at some.
Hold on. I'm instructing not to answer joint defense privilege.
Okay. The answer is you did talk to Alderman Kaplan about your deposition. Don't tell me
Yes
what
or
you
no?
said.
About the deposition, no.
Okay. Did you review the deposition of Tom Tusis?
No, I did not.
Have you ever? I know I asked you
don't-
these questions before. I don't remember the answers.
With Tom Tusis, I don't recall doing that.
Okay, and you know he was deposed a couple of days ago?
I don't know that.
Okay. And I think you told me you reviewed portions of Zach Williams' statement?
I reviewed portions of that statement, I believe, that he gave.
Okay.
Yes.
But you haven't reviewed that statement in between your first sitting for your deposition and today?
Correct.
Right. You knew that today's deposition would focus on campaign contributions?
I believe that's what you said when we were leaving.
Right. And did you review any of your campaign finance reports in preparation for your deposition today?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I didn't think it was that important for me to review them.
Did you think that it would be appropriate for you to familiarize yourself with the campaign finance reports before I asked you about them?
I rarely look at the campaign finance reports, and so, no.
Did you review any emails relating to campaign donations in between your first deposition and today?
With regard to,
Any emails relating to campaign donations made towards your campaign?
since the last time we spoke,
Sure.
I don't believe that I have.
How about during the pendency of this litigation? Have you reviewed any emails that you remember relating to campaign contributions?
The only ones that I reviewed, we talked about at the last one, and you presented me with a series of emails that we reviewed and talked about this in the deposition.
Were they about campaign contributions?
A couple of them, I believe, were.
Okay. Do you remember reviewing any correspondence between Mary Jerger and Beth Prammy relating to campaign contributions made to you?
I remember that I believe you showed me something in our last conversation.
What was it?
You showed me some emails between the two of them.
I don't remember that. Who prepares your campaign finance reports?
Presently?
Yeah, let's talk about presently first.
Right now, either Carly
Carly, who?
Wilson, who was my campaign manager, or Jim DeMatthew, who is my treasurer.
Okay. And how about back in 2009, who was preparing your campaign finance reports?
Well, that would have been Mary Osterman, I would assume in tandem with Zach Williams.
Okay. And did Mary, is it Mary Osterman or Mary Jerger? What do you refer to? You refer to her as Osterman?
Mary Osterman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what, if any, training Mary Osterman has had on preparing campaign finance reports?
You mean when she started, or while she was doing it, or?
Let me reframe the question.
Okay.
Okay. As of 2009, or at any time before 2010, do you know of any training Ms. Osterman received for preparing campaign finance reports?
I don't know that Mary did or did not do any training for preparing campaign finance reports.
You don't know one way or the other?
I don't.
Do you have any training on campaign finance reporting?
No.
Are you obliged to familiarize yourselves with the laws and limitations on campaign finance reporting?
Objection to the extent it calls for a legal conclusion. Subject to that, you can answer.
I just want to make sure I get it straight. Please repeat the question.
I'll just reframe it or restate it. Have you familiarized yourself with the rules and limitations on campaign contributions?
I ask my campaign manager or finance person when the campaign is up. I try to familiarize myself with the limitations.
In 2009, were you familiar and knowledgeable about the campaign contribution limitations?
Somewhat. They were, I don't know if it was 2009 or 2011, they were in flux because of the census, but I was somewhat familiar.
Do you remember what the limitations were in 2009?
I believe it was around $800. I believe it was like right around $800 per person.
Okay. And was there a cash contribution limit?
I know that there is.
Do you remember what it was in
I
2009?
have no idea.
If I told you it was $50, would that seem correct to you?
I seriously have no idea.
Okay. Do you remember whether there was an anonymous cash contribution limit?
I believe there is.
Okay. Do you know what that is today?
I have no idea.
Do you know what it was in 2009?
I have no idea.
If I told you it was $20, would that seem right to you?
It may be.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Why don't you know what the contribution limits are?
Because I go out and raise money, and I let my treasurer and or finance people tell me what the contributions are.
Well, what do you do to assure that the campaign finance reports that are submitted on your behalf are true and accurate?
I trust the people that do my work.
So you yourself don't do anything to make sure that they're true and accurate?
I rarely go through the campaign finance report.
Do you have to sign any sort of guarantee or affirmation that the campaign finance reports are true and accurate?
Well, the campaign treasurer or myself are the signatories on the campaign finance report.
Have you, well, do you, separate from being the signatory on the campaign finance report, do you, as either a mayoral candidate or sitting in office, have to verify or swear that the campaign finance reports you submit are true and accurate?
I don't know that we swear that they're true and accurate. The person that signs them is the person that usually fills them out, which is usually my treasurer. If I have to sign it, I peruse through it quickly, but like I said, I trust my people to do a good job.
Do you know where those campaign finance reports are sent?
I believe they're sent downstairs to JJ in the city clerk's office.
Do you know where they go from there?
No.
Okay. Do you know what Ms. Jerger's background was in campaign finance reporting, if any, when you hired her as your treasurer?
I don't know that she had any. We needed somebody to be the treasurer and keep track of the books, and Mary was willing to volunteer to do that.
Did she have any background in bookkeeping when you hired her as a treasurer?
She ran her own business, so I assume she had some experience in bookkeeping.
If your custom and practice was to rely upon the people who were preparing your campaign finance reports, like Mary Jerger, instead of checking them yourself to make sure that they were true and accurate, why is it that you would not ensure that Mary Jerger received training on campaign finance reporting before you hired her as treasurer?
Objection, argumentative. Go ahead.
I don't know that anyone receives training on being a treasurer.
Well, you certainly didn't hire a consultant or any independent body to provide Mary Jerger with training before you hired her as your treasurer and vested her with responsibility to ensure that your campaign finance reporting were true and accurate. Did
I
you?
hired Zach Williams, and he was the finance director, so I was expecting him to provide advice to Mary to make sure that he was they were keeping proper books.
Did Zach Williams sign the campaign finance reports in 2009, or did Mary?
He can't, he's not the treasurer or the candidate, but he was hired as the finance chair.
Okay. So what, if any, training did Zach Williams provide to Mary Jerger?
That I don't know, you'd have to ask them.
Did you direct Zach Williams to provide training to Mary Jerger?
I asked Zach to help Mary through the process as we were working through the campaign.
Did you direct Zach Williams to provide her with specific training, yes or no?
I asked Zach Williams to work through the finance reports with Mary.
Okay. Did you tell Zach Williams that it was his responsibility to make sure that the campaign finance reports were true and accurate?
I don't know if I ever made that statement.
In 2009, what did you do to assure that your campaign did not accept contributions in excess of the legal limits?
I do what I always do, which is I go out and raise money and expect my treasurer and my finance chair to make sure that the reporting is done correctly.
Okay. So again, you did not affirmatively do anything to make sure that you did not accept. Let me withdraw the question. You did not do anything to make sure that you did not accept campaign contributions in excess of the lawful limits, did you?
Objection to the form of the question. Beg. Go ahead.
Again,
Asked and answered.
I go out and raise money and make sure that if any contributions are inaccurate or not supposed to be accepted, that the treasurer and the campaign finance chair take care of that.
Okay. You go out and raise money. You've said that,
Yes.
right? And you don't keep track specifically how much particular people donate.
I do not.
Okay. You leave that to the responsibility of your campaign treasurer.
And or the finance chair.
Okay. So in 2009, that would have been the responsibility of Zach Williams and Mary Jerger,
Correct.
collectively.
Correct.
And you don't have any responsibility, in your opinion, for making sure that the campaign does not accept contributions in excess of the legal limits? That's not your job?
My job is to raise money. I paid Zach Williams to be the finance director, and Mary was a volunteer to help out with the campaign finance reports.
If, in fact, your campaign took in or received contributions in excess of the legal limits in 2009, do you disclaim any responsibility for that?
Objection assumes facts not in the record. Objection to the form of the question. Also calls for a legal conclusion. Subject to all those objections, you can answer if you can.
If there was any contribution that was over, Zach's supposed to, as a finance chair, inform Mary, if she did not know already, that then they would have to either send that contribution or do something with it, but we cannot accept contributions over a limit.
Okay, so let me ask the question again, because I don't think that was responsive. If, we'll get to it, but if in fact the evidence bears out that your campaign accepted contributions in excess of the legal limits in 2009, Do you disclaim any responsibility for that?
Objection to the form of the question also calls for a legal conclusion. He's already answered you. Subject to the objections, go ahead and answer if you can.
If there was a contribution that was put in that was over the limit, as a finance chair, it's Zach's job to make sure that that is dealt with appropriately.
Okay, and you, as the mayor, have no responsibility in that regard?
In 2009,
Assumes facts, not evidence. He wasn't mayor.
Well,
that wasn't the
thank
mayor.
you. You, as the mayoral candidate, have no responsibility in that regard?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion. Form of the question. A. Go ahead.
That is up to my campaign staff, treasurer, and campaign finance chair to deal with.
I know that, okay, so I think we're on the same page. I know that you're saying that the responsibility is on, at least in 2009, the shoulders of Zach Williams and Mary Osterman. As a follow-up to that question, are you disclaiming any personal responsibility to assure that the campaign did not accept contributions in excess of the legal limits?
Same objections. Go ahead and answer.
If I don't know about them, I don't know how I can claim responsibility.
Okay. If any illegal campaign contributions or excess contributions were brought to your attention, what would you do?
Tell them.
Objection. Form of the question. Incomplete hypothetical. Assumes facts, not the evidence. Go ahead. Subject
Do you have a specific?
I will, but I'm just dealing generally right now. If an illegal or an excess contribution was brought to your attention, what would you do?
Same objections.
I would
Question.
make sure that my campaign finance chair and my treasurer deal with it accordingly.
Okay, well, what actions would you take to make sure that your campaign wasn't breaking the law?
Same objections. Go ahead and answer.
I would tell them to fix it.
Okay. And would you do any follow-up activity to make sure that it was fixed consistent with your instructions? Or would you just trust that they fixed it?
Objection to the form of the question. Incomplete hypothetical. Improper question. Form of the question. Go ahead.
I would trust them to fix it.
Okay. Are you friends with any members of the Tavern League? Social.
Objection. Vague.
Like, Tavern League's a pretty big group.
Yeah. Are you friends with anyone on it?
I don't know who's a member of the Tavern League or not.
You don't know anyone who's a member of the Tavern League?
I don't know what their list is. I don't know who's in the Tavern League.
Are you friends with anyone that you know to be a member of the Tavern League?
I don't know who's a member of the Tavern League.
Okay. Do you know if Doug Nicholson's a member of the Tavern League?
I have no idea.
Do you know if Joey Gath is a member of the Tavern League?
I have no idea.
So you're saying you don't know a single member of the Tavern League?
If you would go through the list, I could tell you if I know them or not.
As you sit here today without the list in front of you, are you aware of any person in the city of Racine who's a member of the Tavern League?
I have no idea currently if they are or not.
Okay. Are you aware of any occasions where a member of the Tavern League hosted a fundraising event for you?
Like whom?
Again, I'm asking you, are you aware of any occasions where any member of the Tavern League at any time hosted a fundraising event for you?
I don't know if anyone who hosted a fundraising event for me was a member of the Tavern League or not.
Okay.
So you'd have to tell me specifically who you're talking about.
Well, we'll go through all the fundraisers then.
Okay.
So why don't you tell me all the fundraisers that were thrown for you in 2009, if you remember? Everyone you remember.
In 2009. You're asking me to remember 3 campaigns worth of fundraisers, so I'm doing my best.
I was trying to
recall.
short circuit it by limiting it to Tavern League members, but that's not working, so sorry.
Yeah, and I apologize, but I just went through 3 campaigns. We had our, I think we had a fundraiser at Old Madrid. I know we had our primary election night party there, but I thought we had a fundraiser there as well.
Who owns Old Madrid?
That is owned by Natalie and Manny. I may have had a fundraiser at Infocino's on Rapids Drive. I believe we had our second year announcement there. And I think we had a fundraiser at Ivanhoe. And I think that was part of the 209 election, and maybe the 2011, but I'm not sure.
Any others that you could think of in 209?
Not offhand, no.
Natalie and Manny, what's their last name? You referenced them as being the owners
Yeah,
of Old
Manny,
Madrid.
boy, now you got me tongue-tied. I'll come up with Manny's name in a minute.
Okay. Who owns Infocino's?
I
Who did in
believe, I
2009?
think it's Emilio Infocino.
And who owns the Ivanhoe?
Doug Nicholson.
Okay. In 2011, you said you may have also had a fundraising event at the Ivanhoe.
Well, if I may have, but I think I had 4. I think I had 4 fundraisers. I think I potentially had a fundraiser at Infocino's as well. I had one out at the pizza place on Durand Avenue.
This is in 2011?
I believe it was in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. I had one in Madison. I've had a lot of fundraisers, so I'm trying to think of which years were which ones. There are a lot of them.
How about 2015? You remember any of them? It was pretty recently.
Yeah. Where do we hold? Where do we hold a fundraiser for 2015? We had one in Madison. We had one in Milwaukee. Down here we had Dewey's. One there.
Who owns Dewey's?
I don't know the gentleman's full name, but he married one of the Rogers girls that I grew up with. Where else were we for 2015? Yeah, I can't recall any other ones maybe now.
Are you aware of any bar owners who have contributed to your campaigns?
Offhand?
Yeah.
I know that Doug has.
Doug Nicholson.
I know that J.J. McAuliffe has. And I know that Joey have. Those were the 3 in this campaign where they gave.
Joey
I don't
Legat.
think Doug gave in this campaign, but I'm pretty sure that J.J. did, and I'm pretty sure that Joey did.
Joey Legat.
Yeah. Oh, we had a fundraiser this last year out at one of the restaurant bars on Lathrop. I forget the name of the place.
One of Joey's places?
No, it was a place we had to go to last minute because the other one couldn't do it.
Have any bar owners made campaign contributions to you in excess of the legal limits?
I don't know any of that have.
Okay. Are you denying that they have?
I don't know. I don't know anything that have.
So you don't know one way or the other?
No.
Have you ever accepted illegal campaign contributions from any bar owners?
Have I accepted what?
Have you ever accepted any illegal campaign contributions from bar owners?
No.
Has your campaign ever accepted illegal campaign contributions from bar owners?
I don't know that they would.
Do you know that they have?
I have no idea, but if they did, they'd have to turn it back.
Did you have a conversation with Doug Nicholson where he agreed to round up money from other bar owners for your campaign?
I don't ever recall having that conversation.
Did you have a conversation with Joey Legath where he agreed to round up money from other bar owners for your campaign?
I don't recall ever having that conversation.
Did you ever direct Zach Williams to pick up donations from Doug Nicholson?
I don't know that I did or I didn't. Are you talking about after his fundraiser?
At any point?
I don't recall ever. I don't know.
You
If I
don't
ever
know?
did or if I didn't.
Have you ever accepted illegal campaign contributions from Doug Nicholson?
Illegal?
Yeah, illegal. Has your campaign ever accepted illegal campaign contributions from Doug Nicholson?
I don't know, but if they did, they'd have to turn it back.
And if you were aware of it, you would make sure that the money was refunded or turned back?
Yes.
Did you tell Zach Williams that Doug Nicholson would have a contribution for you after a fundraising event in Ivanhoe?
I don't know. Recall that I did or I didn't.
The fundraising event at the Ivanhoe in 2009, were there contributions accepted at the door?
I don't know.
Did you attend?
I was there, but I had staff that were taking the door and at the door letting the people in and out.
Do you remember whether there was at any point in 2009 at the fundraiser at the Ivanhoe a jar on the bar labeled something to the effect of contributions for Mayor Dickert?
I don't recall anything like
Wouldn't
that.
have been a mayor yet, but
You don't recall
I
seeing a
don't
jar on the
recall
bar?
ever seeing that, no.
Did you send Zach Williams to the Ivanhoe in 2009 to pick up a cash contribution from Doug Nicholson?
I don't ever recall doing that.
Did Doug Nicholson give Zach Williams $1,000 in a bank wrapper containing 10 $100 bills as a campaign contribution?
Not that I know of.
Are you denying that it occurred?
objection to the form of the question. It's ready to say he doesn't know.
Right.
I just said I don't know.
So it might have occurred, you just don't know about it.
I don't know.
Are you aware that Zach Williams testified to that? Or he
Objection.
gave a statement to that effect?
You may have.
Are you aware that he did?
If it was in that document, I may have read through that.
Okay. If Doug Nicholson gave Zach Williams $1,000 in a bank wrapper containing 10 $100 bills as a campaign contribution, would that be illegal?
Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence. Also calls for a legal conclusion. Incomplete hypothetical. Objection to the form of the question. Go ahead and answer subject to the objections.
If he gave them something that he wasn't supposed to, it was Zach's job to make sure that he would, as I stated earlier, fix it. If it's not what he's supposed to be accepting, that's not what he's supposed to be accepting. I don't know if Doug gave it to him or not.
Did Zach Williams ever return to your campaign office and show you a roll of $100 bills that came from Doug Nicholson?
I never remember anything like that.
You don't remember Zach Williams ever coming to you with a roll of $100 bills?
Nope.
Did you tell Doug Nicholson to pretend that strike that, did you ever tell Doug Nicholson to give Zach Williams a campaign contribution in cash and pretend that it came from a jar on his bar?
I never recall ever asking or doing anything like that.
Did you ever suggest to Doug Williams that he put a jar on his bar at the Ivanhoe?
Who's Doug Williams?
I'm sorry. Well, he's a famous quarterback.
He used to be.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay? Right.
He actually won the Super Bowl with Washington.
That's true. Oh, that's true.
Did you ever tell Doug
He was
Nicholson?
MVP too, as a matter of fact.
Did you ever tell Doug Nicholson to put a jar, or to pretend to put a jar in his bar?
I don't believe I ever asked him to do anything like that.
You ever talk about a Mason's jar or a campaign jar with Doug Nicholson?
I don't ever remember anything like that.
Have you read any of Doug Nicholson's deposition?
Not that I recall.
Are you aware that when Doug Nicholson was asked about these series of questions I'm asking you about, he took the fifth?
I don't know.
Do you know what taking the fifth means?
I don't know the legal definition of it.
It means he's not answering the question because he doesn't want to incriminate himself.
Okay.
Are you aware that he took the fifth when these questions were posed to him?
I did not know that.
I'm going to show you what was previously marked as Exhibit 1015. It's the statement of Zachary Williams. You look at pages 53 through 55.
Do you have a copy for me?
I didn't bring copies of the exhibits that are already marked for his last step. Do you want to take a break and make a copy?
Or you didn't show that to him at his last step?
I did. I did. It's marked.
Pages again? I'm sorry.
Just wait for your attorney.
$10.15.
Brian, I don't have any recollection of you marking that, and I don't have it.
Well, mine says 1015 on it, my copy, and so there's an actual exhibit sticker on the one I just gave to the witness. And as a matter of fact, I could represent to you that I printed it out online yesterday.
That you what?
I printed it out online from the marked exhibits that came through. You want to take a break and copy it?
Well, I guess it depends on how much you're going to ask him about that.
I'm going to ask him to read it and see if it refreshes his recollection in terms of certain events.
Okay, well then I should have a copy of it.
Okay.
Off the record at 12/12. I'm sorry, 2/12. We're back on the record, 2:18.
All right, so Mayor Dickert, I've handed you Exhibit 1015, which is the statement of Zach Williams. I think you testified earlier that you've read portions of that. And I just went through a series of questions with you concerning Doug Nicholson and an alleged campaign contribution. And what I'd like to do is take you through some portions of Zach Williams' statement and see if that does anything to refresh your recollection. So why don't you read page 53, and it really starts at line 22, through page 55, line 12. But feel free to read the whole pages if you want.
And I'm going to have a standing objection to the use of an unsworn statement not subject to cross-examination to refresh someone's recollection.
So,
What about that ham sandwich thing? Can't you refresh someone's recollection with a ham sandwich? Isn't that the same?
So 53 through what?
You know that saying, right?
I must have missed that day in evidence.
53, line 22 through 55, line 12.
Okay.
And just let me know when you're done reading it.
Okay.
Okay, according to Zach Williams, you instructed him to go to get a campaign contribution from Doug Nicholson. Did you read that in his statement?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence. Standing objection.
That's fine, you can have a standing objection.
Go ahead.
That's what it states in here.
Okay, and does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not you did direct Zach Williams to go get a cash contribution from Doug Nicholson?
No, as I stated earlier, I don't remember doing that.
Okay. Are you denying that you did that, or you don't remember?
I don't remember ever doing that.
Okay. Now, according to Zach Williams, you told Doug Nicholson to explain the cash contributions by saying there was a jar on his bar at the Ivanhoe and people anonymously threw money in it. You saw that, Zach Williams said that in his statement, right?
That's what he said.
Okay. Did you tell Doug Nicholson to explain the cash contributions by saying people just threw money into a jar?
I don't ever remember saying that, no.
Okay. Are you denying that you said it?
I don't ever remember saying that, no.
If you turn to pages 62 through 64. Please take a look through those, and I'll have a couple of questions for you.
All pages?
62 line 10 through 64 line 15.
64, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Zach Williams said in his statement that he brought the roll of cash back to the office and presented it to you and said to you, quote, "What the fuck is this?" End quote. You read his statement to that effect, right?
According to what he said.
Okay, is that true? Did Zach Williams show you a bankroll of cash that he received from Doug Nicholson, walk up to you and say, "What the fuck is this"?
No.
He did not.
Nope.
Okay, so you're denying that.
I am.
Okay. Do you recall telling, well, let me strike that. Zach Williams further said in his statement that when he showed you a roll of cash, you told him that he would have to convert it into anonymous donations. You read his statement to that effect?
I read what he said.
Okay. And did you in fact tell Zach Williams that he would need to report the cash as anonymous contributions?
No,
Okay, you're denying that.
I am.
Is Zach Williams lying?
According to this statement, he is.
Okay. Is Zach Williams a party in this case?
I believe so.
He's a plaintiff?
I don't know, is he a party in this case?
He's not. Zach Williams is not a party in this
Okay.
case. Does Zach Williams have an agenda against you?
I think it's fairly obvious that he does.
What's fairly obvious about it?
I think it's fairly clear that after Zach Williams was unable to obtain a agreement with Tommy Tussis, that he has a personal vendetta.
What does that have to do with you? Why would he have a personal vendetta against you?
Maybe you can tell me that.
You understand that when Zach Williams is making statements to the effect that he accepted illegal campaign contributions, that could potentially subject him to prosecution.
Well, actually, this whole paragraph would have been illegal under his efforts as a campaign finance chair.
Which paragraph are you referring to? Page what?
Page 64, paragraph number starting 7 through 15.
Right.
His job as a campaign finance chair, as I stated earlier, was to take care and do the right things with the cash or the contributions coming in, because he knows the limits.
And so you acknowledge that Zach Williams made a statement that would be detrimental to his interest.
I mean that he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
And you're saying that his statements are untruthful.
Yes, I am.
Did Zach Williams ever tell you that he was going to spread the money that he received from Doug Nicholson around to Doug, Doug's wife, and other members?
No.
Did you ever assign a campaign contribution to someone who did not actually donate that money?
I wouldn't do that. So no, I don't know that I ever have.
Okay. Have you ever been made aware of an instance where your campaign accepted a contribution from someone who did not actually donate the money?
I'm not familiar with any.
Did Joey Legath ever come by your campaign office in 2009 with envelopes containing $1,000 bills?
Not that I know of.
Did any bar owners ever come by? Did I say $1,000 bills? Let me withdraw the question. Did Joey Legath ever come by your campaign office with envelopes containing $100 bills?
I don't recall ever seeing Joy Legath in the office in the 2009 campaign.
Okay, so the answer to my question is
No.
Okay. Did any bar owners from the city of Racine ever come by your campaign office with envelopes containing $100 bills?
I don't know that anyone ever did that.
Okay. Did Zach Williams ever tell you that anyone did that?
No.
Okay. Zach Williams never told you that Joey Legath came by with an envelope containing $100 bills?
No.
He never told you that any bar owners came by with envelopes containing $100 bills?
Correct.
Take a look at pages 70 through 73 of Zach Williams' statement, Exhibit 1015, please.
70 to 73?
Yeah, I could give you line numbers, but I think it's 70, line 2 to 73, line 16.
Okay.
Okay, you're chuckling as you're reading that. What are you laughing at?
Well, your first inconsistency is on page 70, where he states that this was happening after the primary election, calls me Mary Dickert. I'm not mayor yet, so he can't call me Mayor Dickert. And then he says it was prior to the primary. The second one is that he consistently breaks the law as a finance chair.
And accuses you of doing the same.
No, actually, he breaks the law because he accepts a series of contributions here that he can't accept.
So
And
you're
does nothing about it.
So you are admitting that Zach Williams indeed accepted these contributions?
Objection, misstates his testimony, assumes facts not in evidence.
It's what he just said.
Okay, and do you acknowledge that he did in fact accept these contributions?
Objection, foundation.
I have no idea what he's saying that he did.
Well, I mean, he explains in his statement that you knew about it.
Well, I didn't.
Okay. So is your testimony is that Zach Williams accepted these contributions, but that you didn't know about it?
Objection, misstates his testimony.
Okay, so you do in fact acknowledge that Zach Williams accepted illegal campaign contributions?
I believe he's stating it right here.
You just deny knowing about it?
Correct.
Okay. Well, Zach Williams, in his statement, said that there were occasions where Joy Legath and others dropped off envelopes of $100 bills and told him to give it to your campaign. You saw that statement, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did that happen?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Zach Williams said in his statement that you asked him whether the bar owners had showed up with the money. Did you ever ask him that question?
No.
Zach Williams said in his statement that he spread the money received from Joy Legath and the other bar owners out just like he did with the money received from Doug Nicholson, and that you knew about it. Is that true or not?
It's false.
Okay. You're denying any knowledge that Zach Williams received illegal campaign contributions from Joy Legath or other bar owners.
State the question again.
You're denying any knowledge that Zach Williams received illegal campaign contributions from Joey Legath or other bar owners.
Absolutely, because he also states that where is it? That I would have bar owners bringing in money. The Tavern League endorsed Bob Turner and supported him in this campaign. Why would bar owners be supporting me if you're saying that all these people are from the Tavern League?
I didn't say that.
You stated that all these people are from the Tavern League. I don't know how they'd be supporting me, and then I would know that a whole series of bar owners would be coming in if they endorsed Bob Turner, my opponent.
Zach Williams said in his statement that he told you on each occasion that he received an envelope from the bar owners or Joey Legath, told you how he was going to spread it out as he did with Doug Nicholson, and that you had no problem with that.
Zach lied.
Zach lied?
Yes.
Is it true that after the primary election in April of 2009, you told Zach Williams to call Doug Nicholson to get another $1,000?
I never said that.
Did Zach Williams go to the Ivanhoe after the primary election in April of 2009 and get $1,000 from Doug Nicholson and bank-wrapped $100 bills?
Not that I know of.
Did Zach Williams tell you that he got $1,000 in April of 2009 from Doug Nicholson?
Not that I know of.
You don't know if he told you that or not?
I don't recall if he did, but I don't remember him ever saying that.
Were you aware that Zach Williams took the $1,000 and bank-wrapped $100 bills he received from Doug Nicholson in April of 2009 and spread it out among various people as campaign contributions?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence. Form of the question, go ahead.
If he did it illegally.
And if you knew about it, it would be illegal too, right?
If I knew it about it, I would have told him to make sure that he corrected it.
I mean, Doug Nicholson is your friend.
He is?
Right. So if Doug Nicholson had made a campaign contribution in the amount of $1,000 in crisp $100 bills with a bank wrap around it, don't you think you'd know about it?
That's Zach's job, number one. But number two, I would ask him to have them write out checks.
Well, don't
my
you?
campaign.
Right. Don't you think if Doug Nicholson in fact gave a contribution of $1,000 in crisp $100 bills, you would know about it?
Objection to the form of the question. Go ahead and answer him again.
No, I don't know that I would know about it.
You don't think he would tell you?
I would hope he would so that I could correct him.
You ever asked Doug Nicholson why he pled the fifth when asked these questions?
No.
Why don't you take a look at pages 75 through 77 of Zach Williams' statement.
To 77, you said?
I did.
Okay.
Have you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. You saw that Zach Williams said in his statement that you pulled him aside after the primary and told him to call Doug Nicholson and see if you could get another $1,000 out of him. Did you do that?
No.
You're denying that.
Yes.
Zach Williams said that he went to the Ivanhoe and Doug Williams, in fact, gave him another $1,000 in bank wrap $100 bills. Are you aware of that happening?
No.
Do you deny that that happened?
I don't know what happened with Zach and Doug, but I don't recall or know anything about that.
Zach also said in his statement that after he told you about the $1,000 received from Nicholson, you told him, quote, good, end quote. Is that true?
I don't remember ever saying that to Zach or him ever showing me another $1,000.
He might have showed you $1,000 received from Nicholson, you just don't remember?
I don't recall him ever throwing me $1,000.
Okay, so you're denying that he showed you
Yes.
$1,000? And Zach's lying.
Yes.
You saw earlier that Zach said in his statement that he was spreading the money around between Doug Nicholson, Doug Nicholson's wife, and other individuals. You recall him saying that?
I don't know if I read that in here.
I'll show it to you. Page 64, lines 7 through 15. Just so you have some reference.
Okay.
You recall him, now that you see that he said that?
He said that.
Okay. I'm going to show you Exhibit 243. I do have a copy for you, Michael. Could you identify Exhibit 243 for the record, please?
This is the fall filing 209. Actually,
Can't-
it was stamped May 1st,
Okay, this is a campaign finance report
correct?
made on behalf of John Dickert for mayor,
Yep,
signed by Mary Jerger, who's your treasurer.
correct.
Okay. If you flip to the fourth page of this exhibit, "11 lines down, you see that on April 7th, 2009, there are reported contributions from Doug and Sarah Nicholson.
Okay,
Am I correct?
that's what it shows.
Okay, and is Sarah Doug's wife?
Yes,
Okay, and the columns to the far right show the purported contribution and then what they have contributed thus far that year?
year to date, correct.
Okay, and it shows as of April 7, 2009, Doug Nicholson made a $50 contribution, and which put him up to $400 year to date,
Okay,
right?
that's what it states.
Okay, and on the same date, Sarah Nicholson made a $50 contribution, which put her up to $250.
That's what it states.
Okay. If you go about 10 lines down, there are or strike that, there are contributions from both Doug and Sarah Nicholson again, a mere 3 days later,
Okay,
right? And is that right, on April 10th?
correct.
All right. And Doug Nicholson again makes a $50 contribution, right?
Yep,
As does Sarah.
yep,
And after Doug Nicholson's $50 contribution, his year-to-date continues to be $400.
yeah, that should have been 450. I think Sarah should have been 300.
So that's a mistake found in your sworn campaign contribution finance statement?
If that's the numbers, I'd have to go back and check.
And Sarah's $50 donation, again, did not change the ticker on her year-to-date. That's another mistake, right?
It may have been, they have to go back and check.
Right. Are you aware of Doug and Sarah Nicholson ever making contributions by way of check?
I wouldn't know.
What's that?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. Well, you would be able to pull the checks, right?
If they have them, yeah.
Are you required to keep the checks?
I don't know.
Okay. If you flip to the next page, page 5. The second line down shows, second and third lines down show, again, $50 contributions from Doug and Sarah Nicholson. Yes?
That's what it states.
And again, the year-to-date is not updated. It continues to remain at $400 for Doug and $250 for Sarah. True?
That's what it states, yep.
According to campaign finance reports submitted on your behalf, Doug Nicholson and Sarah Nicholson made $50 contributions on April 7th, April 10th, and April 13th.
According to the report, yes.
And do you believe that that's true?
That's what it states.
Why would they make 3 $50 campaign contributions within a period of 6 days?
I don't know.
Isn't this consistent with Zach Williams' statement?
Objection to the form of
That
the
he was
question.
spreading the money out between Doug and his wife and others?
Objection to the form of the question.
Or they simply decided to give $50 at a time.
What do you think is more likely?
Objection to the form of the question.
I don't know.
Exhibit 244 for you, sir. Could you identify Exhibit 244 for us, please?
This is the July 20th report.
Okay, this is a campaign finance report on
Correct.
behalf of John Dickert for mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes,
Signed by Mary Jerger,
correct,
who's your treasurer. True?
correct.
Okay. If you flip to the second page on this exhibit,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see about 10 lines down there are additional contributions from Doug and Sarah Nicholson. See what I'm referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes, I do.
On April 23rd, 2009, Doug Nicholson apparently donated another $50. Yes?
That's what it states.
And Sarah Nicholson donated $50 as well on the same day.
Correct.
Flip the page. If you go to about 2/3 of the way down, you'll see Doug and Sarah's names show up again. You see what I'm referring to?
Date, please.
April 27, 2009. For
Yep.
purposes of the record, it's the third page on Exhibit 244. Do you see
Yes.
that? Okay. And yet again, Doug makes a $50 donation. Yes?
Correct.
His year-to-date stays the same, right?
Yeah, it does.
It's another mistake.
Yep.
And Sarah Nicholson makes a $50 donation on the same day. Yes?
Correct.
And again, her year-to-date stays the same.
Correct, but you're making a mistake in the sense that Mary may have compiled, because when you last left Doug Nicholson and Sarah on this page,
You gotta,
they were at 400, the last report that you gave me, they were at 400 and 250. The two locations here, she goes up and post-date them all to the total amount, which is 500 and 450. So she may have actually just put the final amount as she recorded it. You'll have to ask her.
and I made that mistake?
I'm just stating, pointing out here, that she may have just taken the total amounts. So you'll have to ask him about that.
We've reviewed $50 campaign contributions, identical $50 campaign contributions from Doug and Sarah Nicholson on April 7th, April 10th, April 13th, April 23rd, and April 27th of 2009. True?
That's correct.
Doesn't that seem to be consistent with Zach Williams' statement that he was spreading the money out
Objection to the form of the question.
among Doug's wife, and others?
If he was doing it illegally.
And without your knowledge?
Correct.
Because you would never approve that.
Correct.
You know who Thomas Tussis is?
I do.
Do you know him personally?
I do.
Who is Tom Tussis?
Currently, I believe he's the owner of the BP on Douglas and Gould.
How long have you known him?
I probably met Tommy when he was fairly young, when his father ran a breakfast place at the same location.
Does Mr. Tussis have an agenda against you?
As we stated earlier, after his project did not go through on Washington Avenue, I believe so.
Okay, so just to be clear, so far during the two sittings of your deposition, I think you've testified that Mr. Tussis has an agenda against you, Mr. Williams has an agenda against you, Ms. Penny Sharp has an agenda against you, and Mr. Eric Marcus has an agenda against you. Is that what you believe?
I don't know if I specifically used the phrases with Ms. Sharp or Mr. Marcus, but if I did, then I did. But
And-
yes, I think it's fairly obvious with Mr. Tussis and Mr. Williams.
Well, again, I don't see what's fairly obvious about it. How is it fairly obvious?
Well, the litany of things that they've been doing, including working on every campaign against me, attacking myself and other members because of the Tussis development not going forward. Some of the, I would call, not very nice emails between Mr. Tussis and Mr. Williams show a little bit of anger.
Did you kill the Tommy Tussis's West Racine deal?
I don't have that authority.
Were you involved in the decision to shut it down?
There was a variety of people involved in the decision, but it was not to shut it down.
Were you one of the decision makers?
No, that actually goes through a committee.
Okay, were you on the committee?
No, I don't sit on that committee.
Did you attempt to influence the committee?
No.
Did you give an opinion to the committee in terms of what should happen with this West Racine deal?
I gave an opinion when the West Racine deal did not meet the TIF requirement. That would be difficult, if not impossible, for us to support it.
So you did in fact tell the committee that the city should not support Tom Tussis's West Racine deal?
No, I said when the project does not meet the TIF requirement, that it's difficult for us to support it. I don't have unilateral authority over it.
And you think because Tom Tussis didn't get his West Racine deal that he's making up fictitious and fabricating statements about you?
I think Tom Tussis is very angry about it and has shown that since.
Okay, and you think that as a result of his anger, he's fabricating statements about you and making untrue statements under oath?
I think he just told you that.
Is that what you believe?
I just said Mr. Tussis is angry and has been showing that since.
Okay. And Penny Sharp makes untrue statements under oath according to you?
Yes, she does.
And Eric Marcus makes untrue statements under oath according to you?
I don't know that I've read all Mr. Marcus's statements to know the difference.
Well, we went through some of his testimony last time.
Yeah.
And you think that he was making untrue statements under oath, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now we'll get to Tommy Tussis, and we'll see if he was too. So, have you ever solicited campaign contributions from Mr. Tussis?
I may have asked Tommy to support my campaign.
Okay. And do you remember when you may have asked him to support your campaign?
No.
Did you ever make a trip to his gas station and ask him for a campaign contribution?
I don't know if I did or not.
You don't remember?
I remember going to his gas station and talking to him about the project.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
And when was that?
Prior to the campaign.
And which campaign was this?
I mean, prior to my being elected as mayor.
Okay. So this is in 2009?
Right.
Before April of 2009, or
Correct.
before May of 2009? Yes?
Correct.
Okay. How many times did you go to the gas station and talk about the project?
I remember one time.
And this is, again, the West Racine project?
Correct. He showed me a artist rendering of the project.
Okay. A drawing of some sort?
Yeah.
Why'd you go there?
He asked me to come over and take a look at it.
Okay. And for
I
what
was working
particular
in
reason?
I was working in real estate at the time.
Did you have any role in government at the time?
No.
Okay. But your hat was in the ring for mayor?
Correct.
And when you went over to his gas station to talk about the West Racine project, did you make any overtures to him about donating to your campaign?
I don't remember if I did at that time. I would have never done it while talking about the project,
Why is that?
because you can't blend the two.
Mm-hmm. So if you admit that you talked about the project at his gas station, right?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, given that, you deny eliciting campaign contributions during his visit to during your visit to his gas station.
I would have not blended the two.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Mr. Tussis about the West Racine project in his home?
I don't recall ever doing that.
Did you ever talk to Tom Tussis in your home?
I don't recall doing that either.
You don't remember him ever being in your house?
No.
So he shouldn't be able to describe the interior of your house?
Well, we've had a lot of parties there. I don't know if you ever stopped by at one.
And you don't remember
Which house?
being in his house?
No, which one of my houses?
At some point, you lived fairly close to Tom Tussis.
Which house?
I don't know. How many? I think what you're trying to tell me is you have multiple houses.
I'm asking you,
Well,
if you're going to tell me he's going to describe one of my houses, I'd like to know which one.
which house? How many houses do you have?
I'd like to know which one.
How many houses do you have?
It's irrelevant. How
You
many
won't
houses?
answer that question?
Which house did he say that he knows the inside of?
Have you ever lived close to him?
Proximity-wise, I don't know. Which one?
Do you know whether you've ever lived close to Tom Tussis?
I may have. Which one is he talking about?
How many houses in Racine do you own?
Presently?
No, in 2009.
I owned one.
You own one, okay. And was that close to Tom Tussis?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Was Tom Tussis ever in your house in 2009?
Not that I recall.
Were you ever in Tom Tussis' house in 2009?
Not that I recall.
Is it true that you elicited a bribe from Mr. Tussis?
No, it's not true.
In 2010, did you buy a different house?
It was either 2009 or 2010. No, wait. No, in 2010 I did not buy a new house.
Okay, so you were living in the same house in 2009 as you were in 2010?
Correct.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask you the same questions. In 2010, did you live close to Tom Tussis?
2010, I believe Tommy lived close, but I know that he owned the house.
Okay. But he lived close to you in 2010?
I believe he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you ever in that whatever house Tom lived in 2010 that was close to you?
I don't believe I was ever in the house.
Okay. And was Tom ever in your house in 2010 that you remember?
I don't recall.
You never talked about the West Racine project in your house in 2010 with Tom Tussis?
I talked with Tommy about the West Racine project a couple of times. I don't recall where they were.
Okay. Well, you told us about one time, which was in the gas station. What were the other times?
I don't recall.
No recollection?
No.
Okay. When you asked Tom for a campaign contribution, where was it? Where were you?
I don't recall.
Was it in person or was it over the telephone?
I don't recall.
How much did you ask Tom Tussis to donate to your campaign?
I don't recall. Anytime I usually asked somebody, I always asked them if they could max out.
Meaning what?
Can you give the full amount?
And in 2009, that was $800?
I believe roughly around there, yeah.
Okay. And is it your belief that you asked Tom Tussis to max out in 2009?
I don't know. I may have, but if I hadn't asked him to help out or donate, that's usually where you start. You work your way down.
Did you tell Zach Williams to go to Tom Tusis's gas station and pick up a campaign contribution from him?
I don't ever recall that happening.
Are you denying it?
No, I said I don't recall it happening.
Okay. Did Zach Williams tell you that Tom Tusis gave him a Mason's jar with your name on it full of cash?
Did Zach Williams tell me that?
Yeah.
No.
Did Zach Williams ever show you a Mason's jar full of cash from Tom Tusis?
No.
Did you tell Zach Williams that Tom Tusis was going to give you the same kind of contribution as Doug Nicholson did?
No.
Did Zach Williams tell you that after he received Tom Tusis's campaign contribution that he ran out of people to spread the cash around to?
No.
Did Zach Williams tell you that he used some of the cash given to him by Tom Tusis to pay for campaign items?
I don't remember him ever saying anything about it.
Okay. Going to mark as Exhibit 1573. Volume 1 of the deposition of Tom Tusis. Actually, before we do that, if you'd take a look back at Zach Williams' statement. And why don't you read pages 78 through 88? And let me know when you're done.
You want me to read 10 pages?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Off the record, 3:06 p.m. We're back on the record, 3:13 p.m.
okay, very good. And Mr. Dickert, you just read a series of 10 pages out of Zach Williams' statement. True?
Correct.
Okay. And within those 10 pages, Zach summarizes events surrounding a cash contribution made by Tommy Tusis?
That's what he states.
Yeah.
Same standing objection.
Yeah. And does reading Zach Williams' statement concerning the cash contribution from Tom Tussis refresh your recollection at all in terms of these events?
No, but if he did all this, he again broke the law.
Okay. And if he in fact told you about it and you did nothing about it, you would have broken the law too, correct?
Objection, calls for a legal conclusion, assumes facts not in evidence.
He never told me about it.
So Zach Williams said in his statement that you told him to go pick up money from Tom Tussis. Did you do that?
I don't recall ever telling him to pick up money from Tom Tussis. I may have had him call, but I don't recall him ever doing this.
Okay. And by doing this, you mean going to Tom Tussis's gas station to pick up a jar of cash?
Correct.
All right. Zach Williams said in his statement that when he returned from Tom Tussis's gas station, he showed you the jar of cash. Did he in fact do so?
That didn't happen.
That did not happen.
Correct.
Zach Williams is lying.
Yes.
And you saw that Zach Williams said in his statement that he told you that he ran out of people to spread the contributions out onto and that you thought it was funny. Did that happen?
No, it did not.
Did he ever tell you that?
No, he did not. Because I would have told him that would be illegal.
And you would never do anything illegal.
I would never do this, and I would not do anything illegal.
Okay, let's take a look at Tom Tussis's deposition. I think I already gave it to you. It's marked as Deposition Exhibit 1573. We could go off the record in a second just to save space, but why don't you take a look at pages 62 to 72, and I believe this will be the last reading exercise of the day.
Say again, 62 to 72?
Correct.
Again, there's a bunch of different pages. Is it the little pages that you're talking about? The little boxes? Because that's how
Yeah,
I got
you
it.
see the little box pages
Yeah.
have...
So it's these guys, 62 to 72.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
We can go off the record.
Off the record, 3:16 p.m. We're back on the record, 3:24 p.m.
You've now had an opportunity to review a portion of Tom Tussis's deposition transcript where he describes a cash contribution made to you.
That's what he says.
Okay. And Tom Tussis testified that you elicited a cash campaign contribution from him.
Objection, misstates the testimony.
Didn't you testify to that?
Whatever you're reading in here.
Did you elicit a cash contribution from Mr. Tussis?
No.
Okay. Mr. Tussis testified that you gave him a Mason's jar with a sticker, John Dickert for mayor on it. Did you see that testimony?
I did.
And did you in fact give Mr. Tussis a Mason's jar with a sticker, John Dickert for mayor on it?
No.
Tom Tussis testified that after he stuffed the jar with money, Zach Williams came by the gas station to pick it up. Did you see that testimony?
That's what he said.
And are you aware of that occurring?
No.
Tom Tussis testified that you made it very clear to him that his contribution was not going to be reported. Did you read that testimony?
I read the testimony.
Okay, is that true? Did you make it clear to Mr. Tussis that his contribution was not going to be reported?
No.
Is Mr. Tussis lying about such matters?
Yes, including the testimony earlier on the house.
Pardon me?
You asked me to read page 62, correct?
Yeah.
He stated that I did something as a realtor that was illegal and impossible to do.
Huh. Okay, that's about the real estate deal that you were involved in concerning a house?
Correct?
And Mr. Tussis was the builder?
I don't know what his relationship was in, but it's impossible for me to do what he said I was able to do.
Okay.
So, is he lying? Yes.
Okay. Would you agree that Mr. Tusis's description about the campaign contribution was consistent with Zach Williams?
Objection to the form of the question.
I believe you have two pathological liars outside of that.
They are two pathological liars?
Testimony's pretty evident of that.
Or they're truthful and someone else is lying?
No, I
Objection argumentative.
think they're lying.
I know what you think. Did you receive any donations or contributions from Tom Tusis in 2009?
I don't know.
Were any reported in your campaign finance reports?
I don't know.
You don't know because you didn't review them in
Correct.
preparation for today,
Correct,
or ever really.
for the most part,
You just relied upon everyone else to do your job.
to do their
Objection.
job.
Assumes facts not in evidence. Also calls for a legal conclusion.
Did you tell Tom Tusis that you were broke, you had just thrown all your money into the campaign, and you needed money to do radio advertising? Otherwise, you were going to lose, and he was never going to get his West Racine project done.
Never told them that.
Were you broke in between the primary and the election in 2009?
We were raising money consistently.
Okay, were you broke?
We were raising money consistently. I don't know how much we had in the account.
Okay, so there would be no reason for you to take out loans to finance your campaign?
We may.
Well, did the campaign need money in between the primary and the special election in 2009 for purposes of advertising?
The campaign always needs money for advertising.
Okay. Were you in a desperate situation to get money for advertising in between the primary and the special election in 2009?
I don't know that we were ever in a desperate situation.
Do you remember ever telling Tom Tusis that you were broke and you needed money ASAP?
No.
The primary election in 2009 was the first week of April, right?
I don't recall the exact date. I think it was during the April election. I think the primary was during the April election.
And then the general election was in May of 2009, true?
Correct.
There was about 30 days between the election, primary and general?
I believe so, roughly.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I've marked as Deposition Exhibit 1574. Let me know when you've had a chance to review it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is, first of all, have you ever seen Exhibit 1574 before?
I believe I may have seen this, yes.
When would you have seen it?
In a conversation with my attorney.
Very good. Do you remember ever receiving or seeing this email in April of 2009 or thereabouts?
No, and I don't believe that I'm listed on the email.
Okay. On Wednesday, April 22nd, 2009, Greg Bach apparently sent an email to Zach Williams, right?
That's what it states, yes.
Okay, Greg Bach was what in April?
Campaign manager.
He was your campaign manager?
Correct.
Okay. And Greg Bach tells Zach Williams to call Tom Tusis and then provides that phone number, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Greg Bach says to Zach Williams, quote, "I was giving this to give to you, so that is all I know," end quote. You see that?
I do.
Okay. Did you tell Greg Bach to tell Zach Williams to call Tom Tusis on or about April 22nd of 2009?
I don't know. I may have. But I don't know.
Zach Williams responds to Greg Bach that he spoke to Tom Tusis that same day and was picking something up from him the next day. You see what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay. And is it true that Zach Williams, in fact, picked up something from Tom Tussis on or about April 23rd, 2009?
Objection, foundation.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, what would be, if you did in fact tell Greg Bach to reach out to Tom Tussis on April 22nd of 2009, what would have been the purpose?
I don't know.
Well, why would you have Zach Williams reach out to Tom Tussis?
Greg is actually asking him to reach out to Tom Tussis.
Okay, why would Greg be asking Zach Williams to reach out to Tom
I
Tussis?
don't know, ask him.
Well, I asked you if you had instructed Greg to provide this information to Zach Williams, and you said, I don't know, I might have. Right?
I don't know if I did or not.
Okay, well, if
I'll
you
have to ask
did,
Greg.
I'm asking you. If you did instruct Greg to provide Tom Tussis's information to Zach Williams, why would you have done so?
I don't know that I would have. I'm not sure if this came from me or if it came from Greg or it came from a call.
Well, were you trying to
You're
solicit?
assuming.
I'm putting facts together. Were you trying to elicit a campaign contribution from Zach Williams on or about April 22nd or 23rd of 2009?
Why would I ask Zach Williams for a contribution?
Thank you for the clarification. Were you attempting to elicit a campaign contribution from Tom Tussis on or about April 22nd or April 23rd of 2009?
I don't know because I don't know the genesis of this email.
Is it possible that you were trying to elicit a campaign contribution from Tom Tussis during that time frame?
Objection to the form of the question.
I don't know because I don't know the genesis of this email.
Is it true that this email and the dates of the email are consistent with Zach Williams' statement that you instructed him to go to Tom Tussis's gas station and pick up a campaign contribution from him?
Instruction, objection to the form of the question. Go ahead and answer.
I don't know because I don't know the genesis of this email.
Isn't this email consistent with the statements of both Tom Tussis and Zach Williams that after you spoke to Tom Tussis, Zach Williams showed up within a matter of hours or the next day to obtain the cash contribution?
Objection to the form of the question. Assumes facts
You don't
not
think that's consistent with their testimony?
I don't know the genesis of this email.
April 22nd of 2009 was in between the primary and general elections, true?
It was.
I'll show you Exhibit 1575.
Michael.
It's a short one. Let me know when you've completed reading it.
Okay.
Have you seen this email before?
I believe I have.
Okay. Again, the first email is Greg Bach's instruction for Zach to call Tom Tussis on April 22nd, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Zach Williams responds to Greg Bach saying, quote, if there, tell him to go print the labels and go fuck himself, end quote. You see what I'm referring to?
I do.
Do you know what Zach is referring to with respect to the labels?
I do not.
Did Zach have an agenda against you in April of 2009?
Zach and Mary were fighting, and the fighting was ramping up quite a bit during the end of the campaign regarding the campaign finance statements.
Why were they fighting?
Mary wanted information that Zach wasn't giving him.
Like what?
I don't know, ask her.
Well, what are you aware of?
I don't know. All I know is they were fighting. I told them to work it out. Michael, a reminder, I'm supposed to be in a meeting.
Go off the record for a second.
Off the record, 3:36 p.m. back on the record, 3:37 PM.
I think the record will bear out that when we closed the first session of Mayor Dickert's deposition on July 10th, I approximated that I would have 2 hours. I can't approximate it to the minute. And so what the mayor has done here is he scheduled the deposition to start at 1:30 with a 3:30 meeting. So completely and utterly narrowed my time. And I don't think it's appropriate to adjourn the deposition at this time. I think we should continue and complete the deposition. At a very minimum, I should have been given advance notice that the mayor had 120 minutes and no more.
I
And
believe it's
so,
approximately 3:37.
there's no question pending.
Hold on.
So I think, Michael, that we should complete the deposition and that the mayor should make other arrangements tonight.
Well, first of all, he didn't schedule the deposition. The lawyer scheduled the deposition.
I was told 1:30.
Well, he asked me how long it would take. You said approximately 2 hours. He scheduled a meeting which he's now late for, so that's the way it is. He's the mayor of the city. He's busy. He's got a schedule.
Well, I'm busy too, and I would have appreciated, starting this deposition earlier if the mayor had a strict, firm occasion that he had to attend to at 3:30.
He had meetings this morning, and I had stuff on my schedule too.
Well, then we should have picked a different day. But it's not fair to make me have to come back to continue this deposition.
Well, you also didn't ask me, does he have time at the end of the day if I'm over 2 hours? So
Well,
I did
I
tell
mean,
you this
I-
morning that you better get it done.
No, you didn't tell me that this morning. You told me when I arrived here.
Well, 1:30.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we started, I would have appreciated a little advance notice. Maybe I could have planned accordingly, or maybe we could have moved up the deposition a little earlier.
I told you he had stuff on his schedule this morning, and I did as well.
Well, we shouldn't have booked the deposition at this time. I think what we should do is Mayor Dickert could go to his meeting right now. We should wait for him to complete, and then we should complete his deposition.
I'm not willing to complete the deposition at 9 o'clock tonight or whenever I get home,
No.
unless you want to wait here for 5 hours.
No, I don't think you should attend your dinner. I think you should go to your meeting.
I'm sorry, but when I put issues and items on my agenda, I plan on fulfilling them, especially when there's a whole lot of people there, and I've told them that I would be there.
Well, I'm here.
So,
And this is a lawsuit, and you're compelled to be here. So I think we got to work this out.
I'm not going to commit to anything. I think he's got to go to his meeting, and well, I'll get back to you after I talk to him further.
Then I'm considering this a termination of the deposition.
You can consider it whatever you want to.
Well, I mean, really,
Facts are what they are.
but
so.
I know, Michael. I mean, we're dealing with scheduling issues on a consistent basis.
And I've been trying to work with you guys. You've been trying to work with us.
True.
We're
And this
way
is-
past 7 hours. We're now on 9 hours, and this is the mayor of the city, and he does have a schedule. And you said approximately 2 hours, and he booked his schedule accordingly. And I think that's reasonable given his circumstances. So
I wasn't even given 2 hours. And I really don't have that much more to do. But I do have more, and they're necessary questions. And I'm not going to talk about the length of the depositions, because I've read several depositions, and they're multiple days, including the deposition you
Well,
just took of Thomas Holmes.
I think you've also wasted time showing the witness deposition transcripts and asking him to read 10 pages.
Well, I mean, we can't, I don't think we could really criticize one another in terms of our deposition strategy.
You just
because
were.
people- No, in terms of timing, how much people have taken, I'm just saying.
You just did. You said you read the transcript of Thomas Holmes. You just made
I'm
a
just-
comment exactly like that.
I'm not criticizing your strategy, I'm saying you took a long time, that's all.
Okay, we're off the record.
We're not off the record. We need a resolution. Michael, you can't go off the record unless both parties agree. So what's the resolution?
the record.
What is the What is the resolution?
I don't know. I'm going to talk to the witness and get back to you.
Well, before the witness leaves, I need a resolution.
I need to talk to him.
Well, before the witness leaves, I need a resolution, please. So why don't you have a minute and talk to him? We'll go off the record now, for the moment.
We're going off the record, the time 3:41 PM.